The law of love. Regardless of the many achievements that have been accomplished by people today in the fields of science, the arts, technology, social welfare, and the distribution of economic resources, one thing is still missing: love. Only through love can all these accomplishments be beneficial, of great value for all. Only through love can these be used in such a way that they have significance. If man does not embrace love, he will lose everything and will experience ruin. The Master preached about love as the path of salvation for all humankind. He revealed its manifestations, qualities, actions, and laws, as well as the infinite wealth of the perfect world from which he came. He bore witness to this world with his life, his teaching, and every deed. The Master always had something new to say about love. One day he told us, "The moment in which we attain love, we will be one with God." When I speak about love, you need to understand that I am speaking of the only way of coming to know God. If we do not come to know God, He will not be able to give us His knowledge. The law states, "When you speak about love, speak with your softest voice." Speak so softly that you are hardly able to be heard. And speak softly about light and wisdom as well. Speak as softly as the dawn. Divine virtues have fragrance. If divine justice were to enter your heart, truth, your mind, and virtue, your will, you would be filled with an internal fragrance more sublime than that of the flowers. No other essence that has been created by nature is more fragrant than this. This essence is the substance that alchemists have been attempting to discover for centuries. Were you able to extract it, your joy would be greater than that of anyone on earth. Your joy would be so great that it defies description. The primary component of this essence is love, the love of the one that you can perceive, even when he does not speak. Love possesses a fragrance like that of a carnation. Its scent can be perceived even at a distance. In this world, the law of diversity exists that states, each person is permitted to experience love as he understands it and cannot err. Man does not need to be taught how to love. Another unique characteristic of love is that you cannot express love in the same way to everyone. Your love toward each person is unique. Because every person is a unique manifestation of God, each manifests his love in a specific way. You can sense this subtle distinction. His love has a unique intrinsic quality that no other person possesses. It is this that makes each person unique. Love first manifests to God, to the sublime, then to the weak, the needy, the abandoned, and finally to like beings. This last manifestation of love is called the love of like beings. In this love, an exchange among the souls exists. This is love in its state of ascension through which souls are able to evolve and the consciousness is able to expand. Should a good person with a weak character become enamored of one who is in darkness, the good person will begin to err and will take on the other's faults. However, if a good person experiences divine love, this will not happen. To dwell in the presence of love, one should take the ascending path, that is to say, one should come into union with the invisible world and with God. A good person is the one who is united with those who are powerful. with those who come from on high. If he is not, he will be taken advantage of for being good. And yet, when you are united with the ones who are powerful, with the divine, all of your wealth will be deposited in the divine bank, and you will become protected, whereas here on earth, only your savings book is held. There is a law that states, when two people either like or despise one another, they will receive from one another the most positive and virtuous character traits at first, and after this, the most negative and immoral character traits. This is an inextricable law. Regardless of whether you like or despise a person, you will begin to behave as he does. You ask, what can I do to free myself of this law? You cannot free yourself of this law, but you can love the divine within every human being. Therefore, love God within whomever he manifests himself, that you may begin to love as he does. For this reason, begin loving the divine within all beings. Another law of love states, when you love another, you will receive half of his good or bad state. Should he become impoverished, you will become poor as well. Should he become wealthy, you will acquire half of his wealth. Another law states, even when all despise you, there will always be one who loves you. When all begin to love you, there will always be at least one who does not love you. This cannot be avoided. This law is based upon our present level of development. You meet a person who appears to love you. Why does he love you? There had been a time when you wanted him to love you, and so now he loves you. Incomprehensible are the ways of God. A law is stated as follows. When you perceive whatever is the most sublime within a person, he will become attracted to you. Another law of love states, when a person abides in love, he will have the power to attract others to himself. Should he pass by a person, this is sufficient for him to be followed. However, the person abiding in love will only be recognized by those whose consciousness has been awakened. But for those whose consciousness has not been awakened, he is considered to be an ordinary person. The one who abides in love can be compared to a flower in bloom that attracts the bees. Why are they all attracted to this flower? Because there is something that they can receive from it. This is what love represents, the ideal life. Should the law of love be imparted to us, we would have the power to attract others. One of man's assignments is to receive from God and pass on to others what has been received. When you love someone, it is because other people love you, and with this love you love him. This is the law of the oneness of love. When I tell you that I love someone, it is because I am aware that this love has already come to realization. It could have come to realization in the physical, in the spiritual, or in the divine world. A brother asked, how is love able to become contaminated? The Master replied, all thoughts that reach you, these become your personal environment. When love enters this environment, it absorbs the influence of your negative thoughts and becomes contaminated in this way. One law of love reigns supreme. The one who loves you rejoices over the least thing you give him. The one who loves you may give you a small seed, and you should rejoice, because from out of this seed something great will be brought forth. Only love is able to create something great from the least of things. Whenever a person lives outside of love, the greatest of things will diminish, and yet, when a person abides in love, the least of things will increase. We all need to test these things. The first impulse. We rested and talked with our beloved Master on the summit of the mountain. The grasses and first flowers were just coming up from the earth. A warm and fragrant wind was blowing. Flocks of birds flew high in the sky, and above them, white clouds floated on their way to some unknown place. We all listened to the song of life that was present in the stillness. After a time of silence, the conversation started up again. The Master said, "A man tells me, 'I pray.' In prayer, as well as in everything else, we need to act out of love. It is our first impulse. The second impulse is toward divine wisdom. The third, toward divine freedom. Love is the collective manifestation of all sentient beings who have completed their evolution and become one with God. If love is not the collective manifestation of all sentient beings, then it is not love. Your love is their love, and your joy is theirs as well. Conversely, their love is yours, and their joy is yours as well. God and all of the divine world participate in love. The quality of love depends upon the number of beings who take part in it. The greater the number of beings who take part in your love, the higher the vibration your love will have. Love will then be uplifting, healing, and helpful under all circumstances. Someone claims that he does not love. This is not completely correct. As long as he is like the wheat in the granary, his love cannot be demonstrated. But when he has been sown in the fields and germinates, he can begin to love. A person's profession and social status is of no significance. Social status is a transient thing. One may be a poet, an artist, a man, or a woman. All need to love. To love means to give expression to God's love. We need to come to know the person apart from his profession or role as mother, father, physician, and so on. We need to come to know each person as the manifestation of his soul. Divine love. The Master told us, man grows old and declines. His perspective changes, but his aspirations remain unchanged. They do not grow old, but endure forever and give his human soul the impulse to move forward and upward. This motivating force is love. It is the eternal origin within man that creates and builds. Love is the greatest power. Although you may receive only a small dose, when you begin to embrace it, love will increase. Love is the only power that continuously increases. Do not search for love in large dosages. Even a small dose of love will increase in just a little while. Should your love not increase, then this love is not genuine. Love is that power that nothing can resist, the sacred fire through which all of your thoughts and desires should pass. All things that have not passed through this fire are contaminated. Just as the chick follows its mother, so should you follow your great mother, love. Do not obstruct love from manifesting through you. The one who errs against love will find it difficult to establish balance and harmony within. The consequences for those who defy the law of love will be similar to those of the buffalo that stood in opposition to a train and was overrun. Every being who carries within the desire to resist the manifestation of divine love will be overrun like the buffalo. Love is a wellspring. The flow of a wellspring cannot be obstructed. Should you attempt to obstruct it, this wellspring will sweep you away. Do not delay loving. Now is the time you should begin to love, in the present moment, not in the future. If the pressure of the steam boiler is not released, it will eventually explode. Only love can save man from this explosion. Do not deny the least loving feeling that arises in your soul. Some will say, this feeling is of little significance, but this is not correct. This small feeling of love will bring you great blessings in the future. These small feelings and thoughts of love are like the sparks of light that flicker here and there in the darkness. This light in the darkness awakens joy within you because you have found the path. People today disregard these thoughts and feelings and search for happiness and success in the external. For the least sublime thoughts, feelings, or actions that are concealed within your soul and known to none, God will bless you. Love is beyond human laws. Love should be given free expression. Love, in and of itself, is a law. When you abide in love, you are completely free. God gives people total freedom. Those of us who are in the world limit one another by saying, "You should not love this one or that one." Whenever someone attempts to express his love, leave him be. Do not impose any restraints upon him, lest adversity come. People should never interfere with someone's feelings of love. This sacred ground belongs to God. Do not concern yourselves with the question of who loves whom. This is none of your concern. It is a question that belongs to God and God alone. All good and virtuous people serve as transmitters of God's blessings so that they may be received by all. Every particle, no matter how small, is infused with a great energy, and if we were to live according to the laws of love, this energy would manifest. No deprivation exists with divine love. It provides for man in every way. Wherever love abides, so does abundance. When a loving person enters a home, he brings the blessings that he carries within. The divine excludes all jealousy, doubt, mistrust, thoughtlessness, and violence. The love that is jealous is not genuine. When man begins to comprehend that love is indivisible, he will no longer be jealous. When you desire to rid yourselves of the misery of human love, from jealousy, envy, doubt, drink from the divine wellspring. The negative expressions of love result from a misunderstanding. You cannot bear it when someone loves the other whom you love. These are human concepts. Jean Valjean had not yet become Jean Valjean because he was enamored with Cosette. At this point there's a footnote which says, characters in the novel Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. And yet she loved someone else, and for this reason he suffered. And so he had not yet become Jean Valjean, the man. When you abide in love, you are protected. Evil thought forms cannot penetrate you. The inferior beings of darkness are unable to influence you. A brother asked, "What is the connection between personal love and human existence?" The master answered, "When you love, all of humankind benefits. When you hate, all of humankind loses." The law of love states, whenever one loves, this love will be transmitted to all. That wave of love that descends from on high and manifests within you permeates and washes over all the earth and all of creation. When you begin to love, others will begin to love as well. Many souls are then awakened by your love. In this way, you are able to assist all of mankind. The universal language. The apple trees in the garden were in bloom. The air was fragrant, and the bees hummed a song of the nectar. As he stood next to a tree, the master held a branch covered with blossoms. The master said, "Every being is infused with love. The tree, too, perceives that it is loved. Trees possess a language with which they express their gentle feelings. And yet, Their speech is silent. Even the smallest beetle perceives love. There is no being in the world that does not know love. It is the one phenomenon in the universe that all perceive. Guidelines for earthly existence. At times, the Master would give us rules to live by. All should attempt to apply them. These are the jewels from his great knowledge of life. The Master told us, man needs to come to the realization that he will always be in school. After finishing one school, he will enroll in another. One might complete his high school or university studies, and yet there is another university that has no beginning and no end. Man's earthly life prepares for another and greater life. Earth is a laboratory in which different experiments are being performed. Man needs to think about beautiful things, to possess beautiful thoughts, feelings, and actions, so that he may build the valuable qualities of his character. Whenever a sublime thought arises in your mind, do not disregard it. Welcome it instead, that you may bring it to realization. If you do not accept it, a negative thought will come in its place. In such a case, inferior beings will vandalize you through their psychic vampirism. You need to have discrimination with your thoughts, feelings, and actions. When a Bulgarian places a duck's egg under a brood hen and the duckling hatches, the hen does not become its mother. Those thoughts that you disagree with are not your own. Eliminate the ducklings. Permit only the chicks to remain. The Master told one of the brothers, "Your deceased mother and father are working through you. Sometimes they suggest negative things to you. You need to educate them. Someone offends you and your father tells you, 'Do not tolerate this. Rebuke him. You must defend your honor.' Your mother whispers similar things to you as well. Tell your father, 'What good would it do if I were to quarrel with him? It would become a scandal. The result would be regrettable, and in the end, should he tell me that I am a so-and-so, nothing will have changed.' Tell your mother, 'He is not such a bad person. He said those things when he was agitated. When he gets over it, he will be good once again.' Scripture tells us, 'You will tread on vipers and scorpions.' The footnote here reads, see Psalm 91, verse 13. 'You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot.' This means that you need to become the master of all the negative elements within you. The least transgressions conceal, within themselves, the potential for larger ones. This indicates that transgressions can multiply. It is of no significance whether the transgression is large or small. It is only significant that the seed of error is not found within you. In correcting your error, your will can become empowered. The one who cannot correct his error has a weak will. The Master told one of the sisters, 'You are quick-tempered. When you feel that you might become enraged, take up a watering can and go water the flowers.' In this way, a change in the flow of energy will occur. Should a person be impatient, let him go to a mountain region, upstream of a crystal clear river. When you listen to people who are arguing, an imprint of this image is recorded. Time passes, but the tape remains within you, and from time to time it plays forward and it hums. For this reason, it would be better that you did not listen or give your attention to the negative words and actions of others, so that these will not be recorded by your consciousness. Imagine that your pocket is filled with coins, yet after a little while you reach into your pocket and discover that it is empty. Your heart should not stir. It should remain silent and calm. This is how the advanced beings educate you. Some beings will tell someone to put some money in your pocket. A little while later, they will tell someone else to take the money. Or perhaps you are given health and a little later it is taken away. The purpose for all these experiments is that you become strong and grow. You pass by a beautiful and well-furnished house and tell yourself, "I wish I had such a house." This is incorrect. Another time you say, "I am not such a bad person. I am not like him." Again you are mistaken. Rejoice that this person has such a beautiful house. Scripture tells us, "Resist not evil." The footnote here reads, see Matthew 5, verse 39. "But I tell you not to resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also." This means do not resist the negative within yourself. Instead, instill the divine and the negative will vanish. One needs to eliminate all knowledge that is not of significance, that he might not harm his innate gifts. Adversity often besets people today because they do not know which things are of significance and which are of little significance. When your disposition is good, you build your world, whereas when your disposition is bad, you destroy it. When a person does not give proper expression to the spiritual forces within him, he will eventually harden. Someone will say, "I am not well versed." In such a case, sing or play an instrument. Use the gift with which God has blessed you. For example, you are a tailor. You might not be handsome, but make clothes for people and they will befriend you. If you are a farmer, go to someone's garden and plant. If you are a violinist, play for people and they will befriend you. If you are a shoemaker, make shoes for people, and you will come to know them. There are some beings who lack warmth, and when they pass by us, they draw our warmth. There are others who are cordial and warm, and when they pass by us, they take away our coldness. If you emit warmth, then wherever you go, you will be well received. But if you emit cold, you will not be well received. Do not speak about those things that you plan to do. Speak about them afterward. Should you speak about things ahead of time, you will meet with opposition. If you desire to express your opinion, do not hasten. Contemplate on it until you have found a more sublime mode of expression. I will suggest to you a guideline. Each time you have a book to read, you should extract an idea of significance that you can apply. Be gentle and considerate to one another, because divine thoughts and feelings only grow where there is reverence, respect, and thoughtfulness. When you are approached by a person who is gentle, you have a good feeling. You have a good feeling because he is enveloped in warmth. Health is dependent upon suppleness. If one loses this, he will become brittle and will become ill easily. When I say suppleness, I refer to the manifestation of the soul in the physical world. When I say gentleness, I refer to the manifestation of the soul in the psychic world. Should someone offend another, he offends the divine within that person. He will make amends for this with suffering. When you see a withered flower with its head hanging down, attempt to discover the cause. Should you feel despondent, you will then have something in common with this flower. Seek a way that you may help it. Should you perceive that it needs watering, go and get some water for it. The moment that you do this, the flower will raise its crown and joyously look to God's domain. If you are conscious, you will know that water is a symbol of life and is capable of improving every living being. Therefore, should you become discouraged, hesitant, or full of doubt, instill divine life within yourselves. If you are able to transform negative states into positive, this means that you are a person with awareness. What do these negative states represent? The universal law for transformation states, man must rise above despair. If a person who is sorrowful would elevate himself into the world of the one reality, his sorrow would transform into joy. In the world of the one reality, there are no contradictions. Cosmic Consciousness. The shrubs and the grass were covered with the dew of the night. In the first rays of the morning sun, the dewdrops glistened with all the colors of the rainbow. The Master cherished the early hours of the dawn, in which one can hear the first song that heralds the new day. When we finished our prayers and giving of thanks, we sat down in a meadow that was filled with the fragrance of flowers and herbs. After we sat in silence, contemplating on this day, so sublime and so unique, someone asked the Master about the different kinds of consciousness. The Master said, "The minerals and plants have a subconsciousness, the animals have conscious awareness, and man, a self or ego consciousness. Within each higher level of the natural kingdom, the lower degrees of consciousness are included as well. Man, who is characterized by his ego consciousness, has a subconsciousness and conscious awareness as well. The subconsciousness includes many divine processes, including the guidance of the angelic hierarchy, for example. The thoughts and energy of the angelic hierarchy manifest through all beings. It is what creates the subconsciousness, the treasury of the past. Ego consciousness is a singular process of the individual. Whenever a person thinks or desires to comprehend the meaning of life, he makes use of this consciousness. All degrees of consciousness above the ego consciousness are referred to as the supraconsciousness. There are moments when man is in communion with the cosmic consciousness, which is one of the levels of superconsciousness. Ego consciousness does not yet exist in animals. Human consciousness is different in that man is conscious of himself as an individual. When man is inspired by the cosmic consciousness, he will experience the oneness of life. He begins to look at nature as one living organism, the cells of which are vital, the plants, the animals, the human beings, all together, these constitute one body. When a person first enters into the cosmic consciousness, new centers in the brain with new capabilities will begin to develop. Man's level of development is determined by his level of consciousness. Until man develops the ability to commune with the cosmic consciousness, he will be elated in one moment and sorrowful in the next. The mere fact that he has entered into the cosmic consciousness does not indicate that he has attained or comprehended everything. Levels of understanding exist there as well. And yet, he will be able, at least in part, to eliminate some of the hardships of his existence. For as long as man lives by his ego consciousness, he will continue to live in constant fear and anxiety of what will happen to him. Man has lived by his ego consciousness for many years. The time has come for him to enter into the cosmic consciousness. Scripture tells us, "And God will create a new heaven and a new earth." Footnote here reads, see Isaiah 65, verse 17. "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered or come to mind." The new heaven and the new earth will be for those people who dwell within the culture of cosmic consciousness. Today, the light of cosmic consciousness is increasing. Man is more aware of his faults today than he ever has been during any other time. Man should rise above his ego consciousness that he may enter into the cosmic consciousness. Should he not, his existence will remain incomprehensible to him. Now is the time for man to enter into a higher consciousness. Should he continue to live by his ego consciousness, he will never manifest those sublime thoughts and aspirations that abide within his soul and within his spirit. Man needs to develop those organs through which his sublime thoughts and feelings may be manifested. The moment in which he attains cosmic consciousness, he will begin to realize his aspirations. A sister spoke about her perception of the cosmic consciousness. The Master continued, "The cosmic consciousness is an extremely dynamic state. One enters into that state of consciousness when he begins to embrace all beings, from the least to the greatest, and becomes a transmitter of love that all may be uplifted. All should work to attain the cosmic consciousness. The one who is born again in the Spirit is the one who abides in cosmic consciousness. All can be in communion, in harmony with such a one. And yet, certain essential conditions are required for this time to come." What kind of conditions? Internal. Man is just now beginning to comprehend that he belongs to the great body of life. Thus begins the awakening of the cosmic consciousness that strives to make all of humankind into one family that is capable of working together and living in harmony. Divine Science. We were conversing on the subject of modern science. One brother spoke with much enthusiasm about the wonderful achievements of the biological sciences, physics, chemistry, and technology. The Master explained, "We are only beginning to make use of divine science. From this time forward, we will begin to study its laws. We will learn how to free ourselves from our mental and emotional weaknesses, that we may attain enlightened minds, pure and steadfast characters, and wills as hard as diamonds." Science is a product of the human spirit. The science of today will vanish. Only those things that provide the greatest benefit will remain. Everything else that we have occupied ourselves with as little children will be forgotten. Do you believe that the angels concern themselves with contemporary mundane laws? Do you believe that chemistry and physics will remain at their present level? Do other laws exist in addition to the natural laws? Indeed, other laws exist that have yet to be discovered. Today's science is based entirely upon empirical investigation. Someone stands in front of a wall and says, "There is nothing behind this wall." Not so. Behind this wall, many things exist. Just because you cannot see them does not indicate that they do not exist. Contemporary science is merely an introduction to real science. This does not mean that the authority of contemporary science or its scientists is not of value. Contemporary science has provided the data on which man can ponder, that he may develop his mind. The objective mind needs to be developed. It cannot be developed without this data. Human knowledge is limited. It relates to the material world alone. Contemporary science is concerned with the study of minerals, plants, animals, and so on. I do not disregard this science, but a new science with a new knowledge is now coming into the world. The one who lacks knowledge and focuses attention on the external observes only how the book is bound. On the other hand, the disciple should direct his attention to what is written inside. Real knowledge is not only found in the forms, but in the knowledge of the principles. Some knowledge is required for human existence. Other knowledge is an adornment to this existence. Yet another is the blessing that gives power and vitality to man. Man should complete his study of life on earth, that he might enroll in the divine school. When I speak of divine science, I am referring to the science that studies the essence of life. Divine science can be defined as follows. It is a science that is concerned with the sentience of life itself, with the external and internal conditions of this life and its organic development. The one who is fearful cannot be a student of divine science. For it, great courage and fortitude is required. Divine science is vital. The words divine science refer to that community of living beings who have real knowledge. You need to discover them. Then you will do something for them, and they will do something for you in return. Each day I meet and commune with these beings. Why does man need science? In addition to its practical applications in the external existence, it develops a person's gifts and capabilities and shapes the human head as well. By examining a person's cranium, one can determine the science with which he has been predominantly occupied. Divine science provides the means for building a strong and healthy body, for restructuring the human thoughts and emotions, and for stabilizing the nervous system. This can be applied to the individual and entire nations as well. Study divine science and its methods so that you may apply these methods in your daily lives. Great wisdom awaits you in the future. Today's knowledge is beneficial as well, and yet you need to be the student who progresses from one grade to the next, from one level to the next, from the one of the present to the one of the future. I have not yet spoken of this science because it should not be debased. Divine science is only for those souls who have come to love. The technology of today is very limited compared with that of the people of Agartha 60,000 years ago. The vehicles with which they traveled through the air were called dragons of fire. Their knowledge, however, was available to only a few. In contrast, the technology of today is made available to all of humankind. It is not possible to comprehend the material world if you are not connected with the ideal world. In other words, you need to be united with God. We need to strive for the right understanding that the great divine science provides. The adepts of antiquity made use of a magic wand or staff that they would carry in their hands. However, real adepts carried no staffs or wands. There exists a science for children, a science for the angels, and the science that belongs to God. You say that you know a lot. I am glad for you, but this knowledge is only of the material. Have you studied the science of the angels? You will study the science of the angels in the future. Have you studied the science that belongs to God? I do not begin with the science of the angels. I do not begin with the science of the saints. I begin at the summit with the science that belongs to God. This is the most sentient of all the methods. I begin with the science that is the most difficult. Divine science is required for man to learn the great art of living. However, this does not mean that one should neglect his study of the material world. Everyone on the spiritual path should be knowledgeable of mathematics, anatomy, physics, music, and so on. These are the introductions to divine science. Study the material world. After you comprehend it, you will begin to comprehend the divine as well. The level of development that man has reached is determined by his status in the experiential school of the material world. When man begins to master the conditions of the material world, this indicates that he has begun to master those of the divine world as well. His understanding of the divine world determines how well he will live in the material world. You have come to earth to study in the experiential school, and now you are being tested. A professor explains a problem to you. You tell him, "I understand," but you have not understood. You need to solve this problem on your own. A person is able to understand only when he has solved the problem on his own. In the natural world, only whatever you solve on your own leads to knowledge. The remainder is merely a helping aid. Realization of man's aspirations. Once the Master told us, "Should a person who is ill tell you, 'I shall not die, I shall live for an additional 50 years, that I might complete the work for which I came to earth,' he has addressed his task rightly and will have good results." You ask, "Is this possible?" Everything is possible for the one who comprehends the laws. However, for the one who does not comprehend them, everything is obstructed. Something happens to you and you ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Because you asked for it. When a person desires that his aspirations be brought to realization, he needs to focus his thought. A strong focus is necessary for resolving the great assignments of life. By focusing your thought, you will draw the thoughts of all similar minds. In such a way, your thought becomes the focus of the thoughts of all who think as you do. This is the way in which great ideas manifest. Every great idea, even the one that is born out of the mind of a single individual, is collective. Many minds have focused their attention on this thought before it becomes manifest through a genius. Someone aspires to something good, to become a musician, a poet, or some other thing, and yet he becomes discouraged. He who aspires to a great goal in his life must begin to work today that he may prepare the conditions. However, a time limit should not be set for this. Whatever man cannot accomplish today can be accomplished tomorrow. Opportunities will be greater in the future than they are at present. Do not feel discouraged when your aspirations are not brought into realization immediately. They might become realized 10 years from now. Conversely, an entire lifetime might pass without realization. When you aspire toward something, you should, at the same time, be willing to make the efforts. Always be assured that you are being supported by the sentient nature. The law states, when you rejoice that a person has realized his aspirations, you will realize your own as well. Should a person desire to realize his aspirations, he needs to come to understand the plan that God has already set in motion. When you walk on the divine path, you will attain all your aspirations. The senses. One of the brothers related the following experience. One afternoon, I was laying down fell asleep, and dreamed of a friend of mine who was starting out toward my home from the center of town. I followed him the entire time until he came to my door and knocked. Indeed, at this moment, he knocked on my door. I woke and let him in. The master explained, "In the present century, there is a lot of insight. The radio sheds light on the spiritual world, and the television on clairvoyance. A school that addresses clairvoyance is needed. However, this would not be for everybody. All people do not develop at the same rate. The gifted will learn more readily. For example, you can teach a person to play an instrument, but he might not have the gift to become a real musician. The gifts are given to all, but the degree of their development will differ from one to another. Man needs to learn. The nervous system in man needs to adjust in accordance with the development of his gifts. A more sensitive nervous system is needed. The nervous system of the well-developed person is more sensitive and is able to receive the short waves, to receive transmissions from afar. One sister shared her fear of visions. The master said, "Your fear indicates that you are not yet ready for the other world to be revealed to you. The centers for communication with the other world have not yet been developed in man. These need to be developed. We are already capable of connecting with the invisible world. The invisible world has already installed its latest device. Man needs to learn to deal with the two great powers, sentience and love. If you have faith in these, your eyes will open. I have the desire that your eyes will open. But when? When you become strong, strong enough that the new world that will appear before you does not cause you fear. For example, an angel appears to someone and instructs him as to what to do. Such a person can resolve all contradictions. He can heal all disease. Because the angel has appeared to him, this person has become strong. As a clairvoyant, you will experience great suffering. You will see not only the good things, but the bad as well. Knowing this, the invisible world does not awaken within man those abilities for which he is not ready. For this reason, do not desire that your eyes be opened prematurely. Begin with the following: to see within man only the good, only the positive. The method of the Brotherhood of Light is as follows. One must develop the 12 basic virtues before he will be ready to develop clairvoyance. If you have a beautiful corridor adorned with beautiful paintings, but it is dark, what significance can it have for you? However, when the light comes in, the beautiful paintings and the beautiful hallway will become visible. If the light should come in, but the hallway is not adorned, if there are no beautiful paintings in it, then the view will not be pleasing. It will be dull. It is appropriate for the hallway to be adorned and well arranged before the light comes in. I speak symbolically. Should you desire to unite with the beings of the invisible world, you will need to awaken your spiritual senses. Within the body, especially within the brain, powers are hidden that need to be developed. It is sufficient for a person to contemplate for 1 hour each day on the great spiritual questions for him in order to begin seeing beyond. That is to say, it is sufficient for man to enter into a state of inner peace, detaching himself from the physical world, for him to be able to perceive the spiritual. Everyone is able to become a clairvoyant, but for one to do so, he needs to detach and isolate himself from all impressions of the physical world. Otherwise, in that moment in which he would see something from the invisible world, something from the physical will distract his attention and he will see nothing. At first, when you set aside all things external, you will pass through a dark zone. You will find yourself in total darkness. If you are not fearful, then after a short while you will perceive a faint light that will begin to increase. This means that you are entering into the invisible world. The one with the sixth sense can see from behind, from in front, from the sides, from all directions. He can see at a distance of thousands of kilometers, and he can see through walls too. If your sixth sense is developed, you will even be able to see through solid barriers. As you can hear with the help of the radio whatever is being said in faraway countries, so too with the help of the sixth sense will you be able to see what is taking place in them at that very moment. In the future, people will be able to perceive thoughts. The soul and the spirit will then be visible. Today they are invisible. But in the future, the mind, the heart, the soul, and the spirit will become visible. People of today say, the visible will remain visible, and the invisible, invisible. I say, when we meet in the future, you will see my mind, heart, soul, and spirit, and I will see yours. This is the new teaching. The world will undergo a great transformation when all error and transgression come to an end. Everything old will remain in the archives. One can learn about a person not only from the features of his face, but from the colors that surround him as well. This is accessible to the clairvoyant, but not to the ordinary person. For example, if one nurtures within himself sublime and noble feelings, he will be immersed in a soft rose color. The more that one's feelings are of a lower character, the more that the color will darken. Not only do feelings have specific colors, but thoughts do as well. The experienced clairvoyant reads from the color, as he would from a book. From the colors, one is able to discern the degree of human intelligence. If a person is loving, one can see a particular soft nuance of the rose color that emanates agreeable glow from his heart. When you come to the will, a white light emanates from man. It is the color of virtue. Footnote here reads, the Master speaks about other color correspondences in such transcribed works as The Testament of the Color Rays of Light. Among these three colors, the opalescent, the white, and the rose, the other colors are interwoven. These interwoven colors form the human aura. From the aura, the clairvoyant can discern the point that a person has attained in his spiritual and mental development. If you have developed clairvoyance within yourself, when someone speaks the truth to you, you will see a beautiful blue color emanating from him that is not comparable to anything else. Simultaneously, you will see a beautiful pale yellow color emanating from him. If someone is lying to you, you will see darkness emanating from his aura. He will be surrounded by darkness. If your ability to see increases, you will observe that the eyes of many people emit dark, unpleasant rays that can cause harm to anyone toward whom they are directed. These appear as red flames, similar to those from a hot furnace. Should a man become very sensitive and direct his gaze upward at a 45-degree angle, he will see sublime spirits, and at 45 degrees downward, he will observe a dark color permeating the ground in which the inferior beings move. For a clairvoyant to be able to withstand seeing those who have passed beyond, he must be able to withstand their vibrations. For him to withstand their vibrations, he needs to consider them as living beings. Those who work toward the development of clairvoyance will often have the following experience. In front of them, a ball of light with many different colors will appear. It rises up, and when it reaches a certain place, it transforms into a sublime angelic face that smiles at him, then disappears. The angel is saying, "Go and learn. I will study at another place. Farewell." In the future, When people are using their sixth sense, they will read the book of nature and will comprehend it. According to some scientists, one is able to perceive through the five senses alone. Those who have knowledge say that man has 12 senses, that is to say, 12 doorways. Man has 5 senses at present. The remaining 7 are locked away from him. When I say that man has 12 senses, I refer to those that man will first develop over the course of his evolution. According to divine science, man has 49 senses altogether. In addition to these, man has others as well. Man's senses are innumerable. Not until man has developed all 49 senses within himself will he come to know God as God knows him. I told a young man, "Tomorrow you will meet a wealthy person and you will talk with him. He will like you and will help you to continue your education." The young man asked me, "How is this possible?" I told him, "You will see for yourself and will believe my words. I do not tell you about something that will come to pass in a month or in a year, but tomorrow. For the one who can see, all things are possible." The ordinary tunes that are accessible to the human ear have approximately 35,000 vibrations per second at the most. And yet, tunes have been discovered that have as many as 300,000 vibrations per second. These are the ultrasounds. That is to say, many sounds exist that man is not able to perceive. The law of the whole and the parts. We worked the entire day in order to impound the water that was flowing into a nearby ravine and collect it in a pool from which water for the vegetable garden could be drawn. It was the master's idea to use this water. At the end of the day, when we had finished the work, we gathered around him as he began to speak about the law of the parts and the whole. The master said, "Some people say that the world is bad. This is a misunderstanding of life. This is an incomplete consideration of things. As soon as the hand renounces the body, the hand becomes ill-favored. It begins to lose integrity. If we look at the world as a whole, it will be beautiful. Man needs to perceive the whole of life. He needs to look at each phenomenon as a part of the whole. The world appears to us as being disorganized because we see it not as a whole, but as separate parts. Among all things, an intrinsic connection exists. Each question regarding humankind needs to be addressed from the viewpoint of the whole. Humankind is one great organism. The nations are its systems, the communities, the organs of these systems. Man needs to understand his destiny as a part of the whole organism, that he may find his place within it. What would happen to the organism if each cell would like to live for itself, independently of the rest? It would disintegrate. This idea is drawn from the scriptures in the verse, "All are represented in the body of Christ." And that scripture verse is referred to in the footnote as being from Romans chapter 12, verse 5. If one leaf of the tree falls, would it retain the same relationship with the tree as the others which remain on the tree? The whole of humankind is the tree, and each individual is a leaf on this tree. Each change in the whole is reflected in its parts and vice versa. Much of human suffering and joy is the result of a change in the universe, in the joy and suffering that other beings experience and people absorb. Everyone needs to perceive himself as a part of the whole organism, that he may work for the good of this organism. The individualistic life gives rise to wrongdoing. If only one finger of the hand wants to participate in a task without the participation of the other fingers, it can accomplish nothing. Do you understand the significance of isolation? There is nothing more terrible in the world than this. The one who is lonely can be compared to the finger which is cut off from the hand and thrown away somewhere. No greater misfortune for a finger exists. Conversely, no greater fulfillment for a finger exists than to be on a hand and to do its work in the service for the whole. If you put into your mind the idea of living only for yourself, you are initiating your own death. Beautiful garments are made of fine threads. Should you separate the threads, they will represent nothing in and of themselves. But if the threads are well woven together, the result will be something beautiful. Each being makes sense only as part of the life of the whole. You must live for the whole of mankind, for the whole of the universe. That is to say, a higher ideal exists than that you now live for. In striving for this ideal, man will then be of benefit to all. Should one stray from the path, all will abandon him, all will forget him. The one who would like to be benevolent, let him direct his energy for the upliftment of the whole of humankind, that is to say, for the good of all. In this way you will connect with the sentient beings who are helping you. And so, write, play music, work, not for yourself, not for your own glory, but for the glory of Him who has provided the conditions for you to manifest yourself. If you do not work with this idea in mind, you will lose everything. You expect, upon completion of a task, to receive a large compensation and recognition, but this is in the mundane life. When you share your apples with others, keep the smallest for yourself. If you should set aside the biggest, the most beautiful apple for yourself, great adversity will befall you, even after thousands of years. The Path Toward Love. During a morning walk, the Master said, "Study love as an intrinsic power. You all need to strive to learn about it. Today's science and that of the future, this is the science of love." Which is the path that leads to love? A disciple went to his teacher and told him that he desired to comprehend love. His teacher took him to the river, grasped his neck, plunged him into the water, and held him there for a while. Upon taking him out, he asked, "What did you feel while in the water?" The disciple answered, "I felt a great need for air." The teacher said to him, "When you come to feel such a need for love, it will visit you. In order that love may visit you, take the position determined by sentient nature for you and wait. Otherwise, love will pass you by without visiting you. You say, 'How will I know which position is mine?' When you take the position, you will feel that you are at peace with the whole universe, that you are ready to forgive everyone. Each and every imbalance that you feel indicates that you are not in your position." A letter to the Master. The Master received the following letter from a sister in France. "In these days of trials, I am with you and experience within complete peace and joy. We sing, pray, and work in divine joy. In spite of everything, we have the profound belief that the suffering of the world will soon come to an end. All your children feel your protection and love that envelops them in divine light. I think only of the day when I will see you face to face. I believe that I am born to experience this great moment. For such a long time, you have watched over my soul as your little daughter. I feel your call through the sun, the stars, and the wind. When I see you in my mind, I feel in my soul the same joy that I experience in springtime when the garden is full of flowers. In all my trials, you are always close to me. God grants that I will come to you one day. This will be a great day. With great patience and with all my energy, I work every day on my development. I trust you completely, Master. I open my soul to you. Only through the most sublime poetry and divine music is my soul able to express my love, my gratitude, and my reverence for you. With all my heart, I greet all of my Bulgarian friends. Love will give the new culture the structure. The master observed this law in life. Wherever he was, he improved the conditions, not all at once as if according to a preordained plan, but gradually, naturally. Everything he worked on corresponded to the inner life. He used every opportunity that arose in the ordinary workplace to teach a lesson. No better method than work exists for people to come together, become better acquainted, and grow closer in harmony. The master encouraged every good initiative and supported all to participate in it. He was pleased when the disciples manifested resourcefulness, mindfulness, and focus. The yard and the entire farmstead were gradually cleaned up and put in order. The paths were repaired. On the steep slope where the path led down to the house, a retaining wall was built. The stones were arranged in such a way that they represented the rising sun. The idea for this came from the disciples. The master gave this explanation. The rising sun is a symbol for the sun that will arise in all awakened Bulgarians, in all awakened human beings. Stone steps were built, a seemingly simple task, commonly done everywhere, but in the presence of the master, it gained profound significance. After finishing all the work on the homestead, the master said, "In life there will always be improvement." Then someone asked, "How will the new culture be structured?" The master answered, "A human order to the world exists at present. However, this will be destroyed. From the way in which people have worked in the past and how they work today, the world cannot be improved. Someone will say that God has created some people to be masters, others servants, some rich, others poor. This is a misconception. This world and this order in which some go hungry while others eat lavishly has not been created by God. Others will say, why does God allow all this wickedness, all this social injustice to exist in the world? All this is done by people, but they blame God. The scripture's verse, all things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made, from John 1 verse 3, refers to the eternal, the great works in the world. But the temporal transitory things are not of God. Everything that man does of his own will is not from God. Some cite the scripture which states that all authority is given by God. See also Revelations 2 verse 26. In this verse, something has been omitted. It should read, all righteous authority is given by God, and all righteous authority is based on the law of love. Contemporary culture is being put to the test. The culture that is built on sand is not stable. People do not know how to live, how to eat. They do not know how to build their homes, and so on. What can you expect of such a world? And yet, everything will be transformed. The new teaching provides the right methods as to how the future society should be structured. Those cultures that have been based on power have perished. The teaching that I bring to you has been tested. Within it, the basic methods are hidden that show people how to live. I am bringing to you that divine teaching upon which the future order will be based. This teaching is upheld by the law of sentient nature. When the right time comes, the caterpillar will say, "For so long now I have been eating and drinking, I need nothing more. I will leave the leaves for the others." She will cocoon herself. From out of the cocoon, the butterfly flies into the wide world and begins to feed off the sweet nectar of flowers. When will the world improve? When all of the caterpillars transform into butterflies. Society's problems can be resolved in a very simple way. They will be resolved when the new consciousness enters into man. You may say that all people want a new order. This is well, I agree with you. But what will happen if you have a new order, but your nature, your shortcomings, is preserved? It is easy to destroy the old, but what can be attained with your negative character? How would you benefit if you tear down your old home, but cannot build a new one? Nature does not permit this. She destroys and builds simultaneously. The moment in which you err, you are in darkness. People's tragedy is that they desire to do things in the darkness. It is not the external conditions that create hardship for man, but the internal. God created this world with all the right conditions for man's existence. Everything that he desires is provided for. That is to say, with regards to the external condition, everything is favorable. But the internal conditions are missing. The new consciousness, for example, is missing. The cause of this lies hidden within the spiritual realm. Your mind and heart must pass from its present state into a higher one. Some seek to give structure to people. The world has order. Every person whose consciousness is awakened belongs to the world of order. However, this world whose consciousness has not been awakened has yet to begin to prepare itself to enter into the world of order. People of today would like to build, to restructure, first the whole of humankind, then society after that, the home, and finally man. However, this way is not correct. I will give you the following explanation. Take the most prominent musicians who have completed their education in music. They have mastered their art. With them, you can put together any kind of orchestra that you wish. Within 10 to 15 minutes, or half an hour at most, you will see that you have the best orchestra with the best of performers. Why? Because each one of them knows the score perfectly. But should you bring together people who have no knowledge of music and try to set up an orchestra with them, even if 10 of the best conductors come to conduct them, nothing will come of it. People seek a material improvement in the order, but a spiritual improvement must take place as well. Someone will say, for the world to be a better place, a material improvement is necessary. Make an experiment and you will see. What kind of consciousness am I speaking of? Man must set love as the foundation of life, and through love, create the new consciousness. The suffering of people of today is greater than it was at the time of Christ. The resolution of the most difficult problems will come through love. Love will come in a real living form and will sweep away everything old. The nations of modern Europe exist in the phase of destruction. They do not apply the teaching of Christ, but the teachings of a distant past. War is a remnant of the most ancient beliefs. This is the old culture that is appearing in new forms. My basic idea is as follows. All social problems must be resolved through love. How are we to resolve the social problem of injustice? Replace the absence of love with love. Love resolves all contradictions, mental, emotional, and social. The future order. These were the difficult days of war. The future was unclear, disturbing, and filled with danger. Many of our friends were asking the Master where all this would lead. What would be the outcome of this situation? The Master said, "The earth now enters into the new divine conditions. The whole world is awakening. The one who desires to remain in the old conditions can do so. The whole world, the whole solar system, the whole universe Everything is moving in a new direction. The human consciousness is expanding. You will be witnesses to that great expanding. You will be witnesses to that great transformation for which God now prepares the whole of humankind. The world will come to know that God shall not be mocked. Some will say, once the world is set to order, all other things will fall into place on their own. This is not so. You cannot wait for the world to improve, but should enter into the new life this very moment. If someone wishes to wait for the whole of humankind to improve, for this, a long period of time will be required. Many hermits have lived in the woods for 50 or 60 years. Then, after they have realized enlightenment, have returned to their fellow man to demonstrate to him that love is the only path that leads to the real life. The future culture is of the heart. For this reason, we need to be attentive to our hearts and nurture them. You will say that you know love. In reality, you do not know it. What kind of love is this of yours, which does not endure all trials? Those in whom the divine is made manifest, these are the ones who belong to that great new culture, which is now in preparation. When we enter it, we will be as free as those who are our advanced brothers, the angels, the archangels, the cherubim, and the seraphim. Love will provide the essence of life for the new culture. It will provide the material that will be in accordance with the forms of the future order. Today, the old forms are falling away, and new ones are being created. When this great culture comes, all will have such freedom as they did when God first gave it to them. That culture in which the bond of love among all people is not yet formed is not yet the real culture. In place of love, people have set laws, money, torment, and power first and foremost. In the future order, money and power will serve love. All things will serve love. It will teach them what they need to do. Love is the lever that moves all things. It may appear to be the least of all powers, but in reality, love is the greatest power. If only you were able to perceive the world of the advanced beings. At present, you are a part of that humankind which still errs, but at one time you belonged to that humankind which knew no error, and now desires to participate in bringing order to the life of humankind today. In the world of secular law, there is little freedom. In the world of money, there is but a little more freedom. At present, we are departing from the world of money and entering the realm of love. It is God's will that laws and money should become our servants. We must instruct them in what to do. Under the rule of secular law today, you are being ordered. You are being told, move along. And so you move along. Money, too, gives you orders. You are offered a certain amount of money to do a job, and so you do it. With love, however, you have freedom. Man has a lower nature and a higher one. When the lower nature begins to serve the higher, the world will then become a better place. Love destroys the consummate union between good and evil. This union must be broken. Love destroys this contact. Today, contradictions exist everywhere in life, in the individual, in the family, among the nations. In the end, divine love will resolve all problems, and all contradictions will disappear. As long as you work in accordance with love, everything will be resolved. You will expand and become free. Otherwise, Everything will be constricted, condensed, and limiting. It is difficult to move without inner freedom. There exists no better order than that of love. It is the most natural order and the greatest. And when we are woeful and sorrowful, it is for the paradise lost, the world of love. We should rely upon the divine which is within us rather than the cash register which is external. Abundance will contribute to the resolution of social problems because abundance is connected to love. If love is missing, you are outside the law of abundance. The nations have many laws, but have they used them to improve life? They have improved it in certain respects, but the divine within man remained undeveloped, and so the nations have lost faith and have become totally materialistic. Life has become mechanized. Due to the absence of love, error came into the world, and because of love, goodness comes into the world. At one time, the consumption of alcohol was prohibited by law in the United States of America, but people found ways to obtain it and drink. The conclusion is that the law is not the answer. The human laws are not the way to educate people. A new way is needed for man's development. Laws exist in nature which we need to discover so that we may improve life in accordance with them. If a culture cannot uplift the human heart, is it a genuine culture? We need to come to that culture that satisfies the needs of the mind and of the heart. This is the law of nature. You give a certain kind of food to a child, and he becomes ill. Instead, you need to give the child such foods which will provide the required nutrients. If we set love as the foundation, life will change radically. The contemporary social order is obstructed. There is sediment, sand, stone, and so on in its pipes. A new system of drainage for this public order needs to be installed. Suffering will force people to take up the path of love. No culture can uplift humankind, but the divine can, and its foundation is love. Therefore, instill love as the foundation of your life, and it will rightly resolve all your problems. The new teaching can be verified by experiment. Let them give me a village of 100 homes in order that I may apply the law of love. Then let them see what the results will be after 10 or 20 years. Let the Bulgarians see such an experiment. I would consider that a society has applied the art of how to live if it meets the following conditions. These conditions are, when you enter a town, you will only encounter people who are satisfied and fulfilled. You will hear no complaint nor see a single tear. Try to find such a society in this world. We cannot boast of such a thing. Throughout the world exists suffering, sorrow, and misfortune. Let those people with the greatest wisdom step up now and begin to instruct humankind in the new path. People want to know what the future order will be. The future order already exists. You take in as much air as you desire. You take as much light as you desire. This is the divine order. The same will be with the bread. In the future order, the strong will be the servant of the weak. We concern ourselves now with the most important issue, the issue of love. All are discontented because this most important issue of love is not yet resolved. God is telling you, go out and bring this light into the world. Tell all that the omniscient love which comes from above is now descending to earth. Love is the soil out of which all good seeds shall sprout. And so we will tell the people, there exists a love which is like the air that we all need to breathe, like the light that we all need to take in, and like the bread that we all need to eat. All contradictions in the world result from the absence of love. Order will come into the world only through that word, which is love. What can set the world to right in one moment? This is love. With it, all things proceed rightly. If you do not have love's power, nothing can be attained. No teaching can be applied without love. For someone to contend with the divine, this is represented by Jacob wrestling with the messenger of God. At this point, there's a footnote. See Genesis 32, verse 24 through 29. How can people contend with God's will? What has any nation achieved by this? What all nations desire is influenced by human nature. Should a nation desire the divine, this is a different matter. But all desire what is influenced by human nature. The divine order is eternal. No one can stand against it. People can oppose it, but they cannot stop it. It shall be realized. Unity in love. The footnote here reads, this title is chosen as more appropriate than the original, The Great Connection. A question about the future of humankind, its social problems and struggles, was raised. The Master said, God's love is now coming, that love which will unite all people into one. All are searching for the one great law which will unite all people, all beings. This law is love. No other law, no other system exists which can improve your life other than love. You can apply it in practice, but it must be applied rightly. In the world, only one power exists, the power of love. I recognize no other authority. There exists no other government greater than love. Every other power bows before love. For the building of the new order, the law of love must be applied. The second law is the law of wisdom. Love brings life, whereas wisdom brings light and knowledge. The third law is the law of truth, which brings freedom. Apart from these laws, no society or nation can be built. They are the fundamental principles upon which the future life will be based. Apart from these, no teaching exists. They have their application in the whole of nature. The Bulgarians have a motto, unity makes strength. Two words are missing in this motto. It should read as follows, unity in love makes strength. Love unites. Unity without love is mechanical. People desire unity, but unity without love is impossible. The law states, love creates a universal bond among all beings. There exists a fundamental link that connects the whole of humankind. This is love. A few merchants can unite for a common work. If business interests have brought them together, this union is temporary and will fall apart. This is not a genuine association. If, on the other hand, you are united with one another through divine love, then no power exists which is able to destroy this bond. If this connection is absent, then everything you do will turn to dust and ashes. Until love comes to dwell among people, they will continue to speak to one another in alien tongues. The two paths. At times, the face of the Master expressed boundless sorrow. It appeared that the pain of all suffering passed through him. The Master knew man's stubbornness in his violation of divine law and the consequences which it carried. Once he said, "You need to understand these two laws. Violence begets violence, love begets love. Real divine culture knows no violence. Today, the entire earth is filled with violence, among the animals as well as among humans. Only among those who lack mindfulness can oppression exist. All oppression, regardless toward whom it is directed, is a crime toward God and His divine Spirit. It has been said, 'You shall not murder.' The footnote here reads, see also Exodus 20, verse 13. But if this commandment is not applied with respect to all beings, then it is not a commandment. You are asking me for the cause of so much misfortune in our lives. One of the fundamental causes is the indiscriminate killing of mammals. In addition to this is the indiscriminate killing of people. When the souls of those who have been killed pass on to the astral world, they create conditions for the diseases and disorders of the nervous system in people. You think that when you kill a lamb, that you do not bear responsibility? The lamb is guided by the advanced beings, and the caregivers of the lamb will ask for an accounting of its life. Today, these beings may keep their silence, but one day you will become accountable for all your actions. The suffering of the mammals is great. More than 100 million mammals are destroyed each year. Great oppression exists in this. There is no law to protect them. The nervous disorders of the Caucasian race today are a result of the killing of animals. At the time of their slaughter, fear and repugnance develop in mammals. As a result of this, unfavorable conditions for human development are formed in the astral world. The day will come when all animals will free themselves. You kill an ox. Does this express your appreciation toward this ox for his 20 or 30 years of service to you? Let it graze in its old age. This ox has been a blessing for your home. You yourself destroyed this blessing. You alone chased away those invisible beings who were responsible for the ox. When you cut down trees, you uproot those blessings which they have provided for you, and at the same time, you chase away as well the powers which have been helping you through these trees. To renew an ancient forest of old trees which have started to decay and fall down, this is a blessing. In your renewal of them, your conditions will improve too. But whenever you destroy a forest, you destroy yourself as well. As its life force withers, as its water dries out, your life will also ebb. The Americans cut down their rich, beautiful pine forests to build in these places. What is the cause for the neurasthenia in America? No other country exists in which neurasthenia is so widely spread. Its cause is namely the cutting down of the forests. The Bulgarians also cut down the forests indiscriminately. What they are doing is not good. When you walk through the woods, you should know that everything in this world has a life and a consciousness. You should not tear off leaves, because these leaves are breathing. You should not pick flowers either. You will say that you kill a criminal because he is dangerous for the society. You do not realize that when he is outside of his body, he becomes more dangerous than when he is in the flesh. Then he moves freely among those with a weak character and suggests to them thoughts and feelings of revenge. The question arises today if there should be a death sentence. According to divine law, the death sentence is not permissible. As long as people are in dispute and are violating one another, they are acting in a human way. A person should not be put to death because, even as a minute particle of the universal organism, he will impede its movement. People do not understand that the execution of a single person will result in great evil in the future for humankind. For this reason, it is better to put a criminal to work. Instead of jailing the criminal, let us give him farm tools and require him to work. In my opinion, any teaching which makes use of killing is but an old teaching with a new name. What God has created, we have no right to destroy. The one whose heart is without love will be cruel. How can you persuade modern people not to use execution if they think that someone deserves it? Each being whose body you have taken away will claim it someday. You may believe this or not. If you can accept this idea, you will gain from it. I spoke with an old man from the town of Sliven. Looking at his face and head, I noticed that he had the face and the head of a criminal. I told him, "You have killed many people. Your face and your head have changed to a certain extent, but your hand carries all the signs of your crimes." He answered me, "All of this is a great burden to me. We have been fools. We thought that in such a way we could put the world in order. But the world was not changed by that." He is 70 years old and mellowed by time, but he has killed so many people, and now they are following him. He now sees that he has impeded himself in his existence. He said, "Men of wisdom did not exist at that time to teach me, to show me the right path." You ask how one can apply the new teaching when we are surrounded by people who are looking only for revenge. The new teaching hides such a power within itself that when you encounter an enemy, you need only to wave your hand and he will fall asleep. When he awakens, you will feed him and send him on his way. How can your enemy fight with you when he knows that you will make him sleep? Those of the new teaching possess such a power that nobody else has. Someone asks, "What will you do when someone draws a gun against you?" His hand will remain in the air, and he will need to do much work in order to bring it down. People of today think that the world will be put in order through violence. Violence destroys people. It does not change them. Violence is similar to a hammer or an axe. What has the hammer contributed? After hitting stones for many years, it has become worn out. It has destroyed itself. The same happens to bad people. They destroy themselves. You are still under the law of idolatry because you are under the order of man. Be aware of the following. Not all are interested in the same ideas. Therefore, do not impose upon another those ideas and forms which he shows no interest in. Christ did not desire for people to come to accept the new because of the law of compliance. It is important that we are fulfilling God's will, and whether or not the others are fulfilling it, we should leave them free. Do not make use of force or put pressure on people. In the world, power without love brings disappointment and suffering, but power with love brings great blessings. People have killed each other for thousands of years, but what are the consequences of that? The entire earth is littered with cemeteries. There is no place which is not bespattered by human blood or that of animals. The earth is so contaminated and stained. As a result, some of the continents of the earth are going to be submerged. The new culture cannot grow and develop on this impure land. A purification of the earth is necessary. People of today are not aware of the dangers that they live among. Everyone has sublime desires and noble impulses, but they lack insight. They do not know how to live. The all-embracing love. The Master addressed every human being and every living being with attention and respect. He revealed to his disciples the great unity of life, pointing out the place and significance of everything in the whole of life. In this manner, he gave us a guiding idea with which to study nature. The Master explained, "Each leaf needs to love all of the other leaves on the tree because of its dependence upon them. An interconnection exists among all beings. You need to have an intrinsic relationship with all living beings. We are searching for those relationships which have existed among all souls in the beginning. Within every being, plant, animal, or human being, you will find at least one good quality for which you can love them. For as long as some people are agreeable to you while others are not agreeable, you will regard things from outside of love. Even with the least form, an angel is hidden who after thousands and millions of years will transform this form and reveal to it the knowledge that it carries within itself. Now you will study the unconditional love toward the whole. This is the law which God will teach you. By yourselves you will not be able to learn this law. Someone else is going to teach you. Who? Only the one who has knowledge can show you how to love the whole. Who is this scholar? God. If you do not learn from him, you will remain ignorant. What does a river need to do while it passes by the trees? It needs to leave something of itself. What does someone need to do when passing by other people? Man needs to leave something of himself. If they are dead, he must awaken them, ignite them, set them aglow. If you enter into the all-embracing love, when you find yourself in nature, you will listen to the singing of the birds, the humming of the insects, the flying of the butterflies, and you will rejoice. You will then look at the flowers in bloom, the trees that bear fruit, the sun that shines, and again you will rejoice. And lastly, when you go among people and listen to how they speak, you will again rejoice. In the all-embracing love, all beings will become your friends. The reptiles, as well as the frogs that are looked upon with revulsion, will become your friends. You will look at them with sympathy rather than revulsion. When you encounter a turtle, a frog, or a snake, you will know why the turtle carries its shell on its back, why the snake crawls, why the frog is cold. To apply this love, this knowledge, means to become a sublime, great spirit. In my opinion, every heart which is not open from morning until night, that it may give everything it has and accept everything which falls upon its lot, is a heart that is not normal. When you enter into the all-embracing love, you become connected with a whole universe. You will then feel the suffering of all living beings. You love one person. God desires that you love the others as you do this soul. This love you have for one is a model for God to show you how you need to love the others as well. If a grocer has only one customer, he will go bankrupt. If someone loves only one person, it means that he is like a grocer with only one customer. If he loves 100 people, he is like a grocer with 100 customers. The more people you love, the more profit you will have. The greater number of souls which you are connected with, that much more your consciousness will be invincible, and your memory stronger. One's success depends upon the number of souls with which one is connected. If you love one person, your knowledge is equal to 1. If you love 2 people, your knowledge is equal to 2. The number of people that you love will define the degree of your knowledge. In the all-embracing love, you will feel an intrinsic joy. The consciousness of all beings forms one unity, and you will communicate with this collective consciousness. The great love is like a great body of water. The great water is not murky. It does not produce silt. The small water is murky and does produce silt. The teaching that I give is not a teaching of ordinary morality. It is a teaching of great love. Love can improve the health, enlighten the mind, expand the heart, give impulse to the spirit. To whatever party you may belong, from whatever nation you may come, make use of this teaching. When I meet someone, I do not wish to know any details from his past. This is not of my concern. Why impart any negativity to myself? The one who plays music or sings, be it before an audience or one person, should be loved by them. One soul who loves you is sufficient for you to be supported in the times of hardship in your life. Imagine, then, what can become of a person when not only one soul, but countless souls direct their love toward him. Such one can become a singer, a musician, an artist, a scientist. Whatever he wishes, he can become. We can imagine then what progress, what sublime culture will exist on earth when the love of all toward all does come. Steadfastness. The Master guided our sight toward reality, freeing us from life's illusions and shadows. In this manner, he guided us toward the right direction. The Master said, "Love forms the most steadfast unions. There is no power which can separate the two elements which love has united. Whatever people call love is not love, because the two elements which are brought together by human love can be separated. Wherever love creates a union, no dissolution can exist. Every union in which God is not present is unstable, is falling apart. Divine love can never die. How can you recognize divine love? It forms steadfast unions. Someone says, "I have had love, but it died." How is it possible for a lamp which God has lit to die? This is impossible. I consider as a friend the one who is my friend not only in one life, but who is my friend from the moment of my departing from God to the moment of my returning to Him. The love which manifests among souls today is the result of relationships which have existed throughout many lifetimes. It has been in preparation for thousands of years. With this understanding, you will look at love as a sacred act of life. Qualities of divine love are constancy and steadfastness. If someone changes in his love for you, he has never loved you. When someone says that his love is abating, he has in mind those transient moods which people incorrectly call love. Someone says, "There was a time when I had love, but now I have aged, and have lost my love. No, this is not love. This is only a temporary graft. Love is never lost, but the current of love which passes through the person can become interrupted. The one who understands the law of love can restore his original connection with it and acquire it again. On the other hand, the one who does not understand the law of love will regret having lost it. In reality, he has not lost it. He only needs to restore the interrupted current. When observing the manifestation of love in people, you will see that it is constantly being interrupted. This, however, is only apparently so. It relates to man's outer consciousness and not to his essence. External obstacles, clouds in the consciousness, exist, which seem to interrupt love. The higher the realm to which man's consciousness rises, the less his love will be interrupted. I will give you an analogy. You are sitting in your room and look out of the window. At this time, your friend passes by. You follow his movement and can see him up to a certain distance. After a while, he disappears from your sight. This occurs because you remain at the same level. If you had risen to a higher level, you would have been able to see him constantly. The higher the level on which you stand, the more your love will be without interruption. We have known righteous people who have led a mindful life and later say, "It is not worth it to live like that." Why? Because they lacked a profound understanding of life. You love someone and are ready to do everything for this person. But it happens that this person burns the food, and you utter a scornful word. Then the advanced beings who have come to live within both go away. In this way, the love between the two is lost, but only temporarily, apparently. If your feelings are inconstant, one day you will suffer because of that.